What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football home, over at fakepigskin.com. Here to talk some DraftKings and help get you set for week number 9. It's myself, Notorious KRO, and the one and only real Bobby Adcock. What's up, Bobby?
Kyle, how's it going, my friend? I think Lamar Jackson did score a touchdown last
He
week.
did. He looked pretty good, and I actually thought Flacco might even get benched as that game kind of got a little awkward, and you might get like a quarter and a half, but yeah, it ended up working out pretty nicely, and if you had all the right other pieces, and including Todd Gurley, who's just incredible, although that extra touchdown sure would have been nice. It was a nice week over on DK. How did you do? Everything go according to plan?
Yeah, actually, I think for the most part, I wouldn't say I had any great wins, but I didn't lose, and I
Yeah.
kind of I cashed enough to just keep my bankroll, and then just continue to pump it into ridiculous NBA contests this week,
Yeah.
which has kind of been fun. I don't do that a lot, but I did okay there too. So
There you go.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm kind of
NBA and even baseball to some degree is a little tough just because you have to be there at like right before lock and make sure that no one's getting DNP'd, or if you find out some stud's not going to play and some backup's going to get 30 minutes, you have to be able to throw them into some lineups.
yeah, and I think what I think the nice thing about NBA, at least this season, I think they've actually included the late swap feature. So that's actually helped out a little bit. I've noticed. I don't do it every week or every night, but because like you said, you need to be really engaged with that day to day, like to understand rotations, to understand, just like what kind of teams, like injuries and all that stuff. So it's tougher day to day, but hey, if you're in the middle of the week and you're kind of like bored, and you got it's a fun thing to do. So I use some of that this week to do that. But yeah, and in general, NFL went okay for me. The Lamar Jackson thing was kind of funny. It worked out well. How about yourself?
Yeah, no, it was pretty solid. I think I did well at some positions. Wide receiver left a little bit to be kind of desired, I guess, but it was a fine week. I don't mind weeks. Like obviously much rather win every contest, but as long as I'm staying relatively even in terms of my bankroll, I'm not
Yeah.
going to be too upset. And you dabble a little bit here, a little bit there, but I feel pretty good about kind of where my head's at, and let's jump in. Let's talk some positions, and let's talk quarterback because. I'm looking at the names that I have, and no one. I'm not obviously not. I don't think I'm spending up for Pat Mahomes at 7,100. Although I wouldn't fault you if you did that. But I'm kind of looking at that kind of next chunk and a half as where I'm going to find my quarterbacks this week. What about you?
Well, I can't blame anyone. I think Mahomes is definitely like number one with a bullet. I'm not gonna blame anyone for doing that. I think it's probably the right thing to do, and that's not what I like to do typically.
Yeah.
But yes, if I was pivoting off of him, um, I like golf a lot
Yep.
at 6,000.
Yeah, I mean, being able to save $1,100, Goff's going to be in a game where he's going to have to be in a shootout. I mean, he's definitely on my list. I'm very excited about the Rams kind of in general this week. I
Sure.
love Jared Goff, and yeah, if I can save $1,100 from Pat Mahomes, in a great matchup, I think that's what I'm doing every time.
Yeah, and I also in that range, I will say I like Captain Kirk a lot too. If I'm
Mm-hmm.
more like that $6,000 range, you know how I feel about the Lions secondary. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's not good. I think they they showed their ass last week again to prove that even their best player Slay isn't having like that All Pro year that everyone perceives him to be. So I think they're going to come out after kind of getting a little bit embarrassed Sunday night. I think they're going to come out and they're going to be throwing a lot. And another thing, we'll get into receivers, so I'll save that for that. But yes, I like Captain Kirk and in that range as well. If you go,
You think the Lions can do enough offensively to make Kirk have to throw more?
um, because I think the Vikings defense has numerous injuries along of it. I think it's possible. I think you might see a little bit of a change and maybe a little bit of an opening up from that offense this week because of the trade with Tate.
Mm-hmm.
I think they might. Yes, I do. I think they might be a little bit different. I think you might see a lot more, deep balls to Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones. Those are not like intermediate. They're not running intermediate routes a
Right.
lot. So I think you're going to see a lot of on Johnson and a lot of downfield throws to Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones. So I
Yeah.
do think I do think they can have it. And Xavier Rhodes, I think, is also still on the mend. So
Yeah.
yes, I like Cousins in that range as well.
I like Cam Newton a lot at 6,600. I know he's kind of expensive, and if I'm paying up, that's as high as I'm going. But I think Cam can have an amazing game here. I don't trust Tampa, and the other guy on the opposite side, Ryan Fitzpatrick, at 5,500 is another guy that I'm interested in. So obviously, I think both these teams can score enough points, and I think there should be a lot of fantasy production. I think a Cam Newton with Mike Evans or Fitzpatrick, maybe DJ Moore, Mike Evans, I think could be a nice way to kind of start some lineups.
Absolutely. And before we move on from quarterbacks, going if you're going lower, the 5K range, who jumps out to you?
Let's take a look. I honestly like Flacco. Like in terms of the matchup, is interesting, but then the Steelers Ravens is always a close tight game. Even like we saw a couple weeks ago, we saw it with the Bengals and Steelers where it should have been a higher scoring game. Alex Smith is the one that interests me at 5,000, but I know Atlanta is terrible against the pass, but they're also just kind of terrible. And as we talk about with my running backs, I'm big on Adrian Peterson. So is Alex Smith someone you're comfortable rostering this week, even at the nice price tag?
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the matchup is the reason. So yeah, I looked at it as well, and I do like that. Atlanta just gives up everything to every offense. So many injuries. I think their only chance right now is just they have to outscore teams. But Washington has kind of lacked like this like big play or downfield plays. Like Jordan Reed, he hasn't really been. He's been catching passes, but hasn't really making big plays. I think if Chris Thompson is out and Jameson Crowder is out, I think you see an offense that they're gonna, like you said, they're gonna hand it to your boy Peterson a lot, and you're gonna see like 30 carries from him, and that's gonna be their game plan. So I think the matchup base, it makes a lot of sense if you want to look at him, but or Smith at 5,000. But where I would go, I think is we talked about on the gambling podcast is Fitzpatrick at 5,500, a little more expensive, but I think again he's shown that upside where his price really kicks in and goes, man, this guy could drop 4 touchdowns on anybody, 300 yards on anybody. So I still think Fitzpatrick this week, even against Carolina on the road, I think he's a really nice play at 5,500.
What about Nathan Peterman at 4,000? We gonna get crazy this week?
Kyle, I wanted you to answer the question. I think not only is the fantasy community wondering about, but also America in general. And the question is, who will have more DK points this week? Is it Nathan Peterman or Taysom Hill at quarterback? And that's what you have to decide on. And I think it's this might be like an even money type scenario. I'm not entirely sure where you would go, because you could play. They both cost the same amount of money,
Mm-hmm.
and Lamar Jackson I think costs 4,400. So, um, say you're getting really dirty and you're going Lamar at 44, Taysom at 4, or Peterman at 4. Who are you going?
uh, man, see, like normally I
I'm
would be
definitely doing this, by the way.
Ne- ne- n- we should do a little heads up, and we each pick one of these quarterbacks as our guy, and build the
Absolutely.
rest of our lineup. I think that'd be a fun little contest. See,
Sure.
Taysom Hill, in terms of if in a terms of just a vacuum, would be the guy that I would lean towards.
Sure.
Uh, but in this matchup with the Rams, I don't think Sean Payton's going to get quite as cute, and I think he will be on the sidelines a little bit more. That's kind of how I feel about Lamar Jackson, like a division rival versus Pittsburgh, and I think kind of by default, Nathan Peterman's going to be my quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably with you. Just because he is the quarterback, he's not just like this gadget player they're trying to play. So, um, trust me, I've built a few lineups this week with Peterman where it is studded out at running back and receiver, and I'm I feel just fine about it. So, yeah, I think that is the question of the week, and yeah, he will. He will. I'm not saying hey, go out there and Peterman is my guy, stack the Bills. But hey, look, if you want to get a little bit weird in GPPs and you just want to load up at running back and receiver, throw Peterman out there. What the
Yep,
hell?
yep. Let's shift our focus. Let's talk running backs. I don't know that I would do it in cash, but Todd Gurley in GPPs might be an interesting way to look, just because his upside is so high, and I know New Orleans has been really good against opposing running backs, but Todd Gurley's another animal. Can be involved in the passing game, so maybe he gets some screens, ends up having a 80 to 100 total yards and 2 touchdowns, and is worth his $9,500 price. And are you with me on that?
Yeah, I am, and I think that I looked at the top. I think with the bye weeks the teams are on the bye weeks, and the we're talking about like kind of the Millie Maker contest with the teams that are on Sunday night and Monday night. I think after the top 5 running backs, there's a pretty significant drop off. And I think most of my lineups, I'm going to want to get two of those guys in those top 5, to feel just for me to feel just like, hey, yeah, I got 2 guys I know are gonna produce. So it really, I think the last one is like after maybe John Connor at 73, it goes like to Tariq Cohen at 62.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I for me, for the most part, I'm going to have 2 of those top 5 guys in all my lineups. What do you think about that?
It's definitely a strategy. I think there's value at receiver this week, so I think it would it makes sense, and especially if you're looking kind of maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick as your quarterback, I think it's a lot easier to do. Um, I think if you are like Cam Newton or Mahomes, I think it's almost impossible to field a team you feel great about. But I don't know. I feel like I want one of those guys maybe, but like I'm comfortable if like Adrian Peterson's my number one. Like I'm fine. I'm fine going there. I guess if you had to pick your favorites out of the group, I think Kareem Hunt and Christian McCaffrey would be the two for me. I love their opportunities. I love their matchups, and I think they're a little
That's okay.
cheaper than the highest guys, but still, you can have some wiggle room. What about you? If you I guess who's your favorite of that group, and then who's number two?
I'm with you on Hunt, for sure. And you're right with McCaffrey but just because of the matchup, okay. But I've been we've been bleh, bleh, bleh. Maybe I've been talking about McCaffrey more, but I don't know if he is this like you know
Maybe we
just
just
like
go. Maybe we just go Tariq Cohen and save 1,600 bucks.
yeah no, but so he had that 2 touchdowns last week, but that one was ridiculous. Did you see that one he caught?
Mm-mm.
So he literally like bounced uh, offensive lineman. And he caught it in the end zone, like
Oh yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. Bouncing straight up in the air, and then he like ends up diving. Yeah, it was a total
So
fluke play.
so that was like his one. Like if you take that away again, it's just like it's the same stat line. It's like 10 to 15 carries for 60 yards
Yeah,
and
maybe he
another.
had 30 against Philly and 20 against Washington. Um,
Yeah, I mean
yeah,
it's like honestly, like at this point, like I'm having a hard time like viewing him as this like big difference maker and big like fantasy juggernaut. Like yes,
mhm.
is the volume there? For sure it is. But is the big plays and all these like dynamic like you know play like breaking plays, are they there? I don't
Yeah,
think they haven't been. So
yeah.
um
He's
I'm
very
gonna.
he's very reliable, and you know kind of what you're getting, and he'll
Sure.
probably get you what you want from his price tag. But he doesn't have the same upside as Kareem Hunt or Alvin Kamara or James Conner, where he'll rip off 200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Sure, you're right. The floor is there. The floor is there,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
But if I'm looking at Alvin Kamara, that's less expensive at 7,300 in that matchup with the Rams, all day,
yeah.
all
Well,
day.
and I'm looking like if you do Gurley and Kamara, like theoretically, they're super talented running backs who are in, against decent run defenses. Or even Connor, who's going up against Baltimore, and we saw the
Yeah,
Baltimore. I think you could get some nice GPP lineups with tons of upside and maybe lower ownership totals than you would expect with those names.
yeah, and I agree. And so I think we've gone through like this, like the top shelf guys. Is there guys like in the 5K range? You talked about Peterson, which I agree with. That's a nice
Hmm.
like average price guy who could be really good. 5K range, to talk to me about that.
I wanted to be in on Latavius Murray, but now the reports keep coming out that Dalvin Cook's practicing and it looks like he's going to play. So if that ends up happening, it's a great matchup, good opportunity. But even with the addition, we talked about it a little bit last week with the addition of Snacks Harrison, and maybe it takes a couple weeks for it to really show. But
Yeah,
you were able to run on them last week, so I think there's opportunity. And if Dalvin doesn't play for some reason, I'm all over Latavius in this spot. That said, with both of them looking like they might play, I'm probably avoiding it. I like Philip Lindsay, even in a quite kind of tough matchup. Royce Freeman didn't play last week. There's probably not going to play this week. I think the volume will be there. Like we talked about it in the betting show, I think Denver is winning or really close in this game most of the way. I think they play really well. Um,
I like that.
Anybody that jumps out to you kind of in that range?
Yeah, definitely. If Freeman doesn't play, agree with you there. Lindsey has a ton of talent to produce a lot and help your lineups out. I think Carryon Johnson is a guy that I still think if the Lions kind of if they get their head out of their ass a little bit, they should be giving him the ball a lot in this
Mm-hmm.
game.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that has the upside and the talent. I think that if you've watched him, he can produce. He's super talented. So I like Carryon Johnson still. Lamar Miller is a guy with kind of this uh, Deshaun Watson renaissance a little bit that has,
Mm-hmm.
has has also woken up a little bit last few weeks. So he's a guy in that 5K range who I look at and say, yeah, I'm a little more comfortable playing him. But honestly, I would move on from that entire range um, for a guy like Nick Chubb this week.
Love Nick Chubb
Uh,
this week. 4,500. I think it's a tremendous value. I think he gets a lot of work. Do you expect Duke Johnson to be involved, or obviously now that the running backs coach is the OC, they tend to use their guys, but it doesn't really seem like, despite paying him, that he's really involved in this offense. I think it's Nick Chubb or bust.
yeah, Kyle, I expect nothing from Duke Johnson because I've drafted him in every fantasy league I have, and yeah, no, of course not. I've no, he's done. So I don't expect anything from him, and it's almost been there's been every like opportunity for this emergence of Duke Johnson to have these nice games where you go, okay, he has this role now. There really isn't a role, and I don't. It's this second down role or the second back role, and that's not even necessarily the passing down role necessarily. So I think Chubb at his price this week, he's the guy there. He's gonna be the guy, and I would pivot off him, and maybe even a guy like your guy, like you talked about last week, Chris Carson. I don't mind him this week at his price. I might pivot off of any guy in the 5K range and go right for Chris Carson. Seattle wants to run the ball. That's what they want to do. They know their defense isn't great. They want to give Russell Wilson all the help they can get him. And I think they want to run the ball 25, 30 times. And right now, Carson is the guy. If he's healthy, they're giving him the full workload. If you have a guy getting 20, 25 guaranteed touches, hey, that's a good value.
Yeah, yeah, I think, but there is talks that he may not play. Like it could be an interesting Rashad Penny finally gets a look, or Mike Davis. But yeah, I think if Carson's good to go, he should be in there. And we want to talk about guys that are getting volume. It won't feel great, but Peyton Barber at 3,600. This is a guy who's seen 13, 11, and 19 touches. I know Carolina's pretty good against the run. But I think there's potential. I think this is a game where both offenses can get up and down the field. Maybe Peyton Barber gets some goal line looks. At 3,600, I think you could do a lot worse. And Trenton Cannon is another guy against Miami that could make a lot of sense. It could be ugly if Elijah McGuire is active. I don't think Crowell is just like, I don't know what's going on there, but Cannon got some of that Bilal Powell work with him out for a while. I feel I feel like you at least get something, and the potential for him to get a full complement is there, and all of a sudden at 3,600 you could have a real steal at running back.
Yeah, I mean, Cannon's a decent dart throw. Just for my own mental health, can you just tell me not to play Ronald Jones Jr. in lineups anymore?
Just don't play him. He's hurt. He's out. I've tried to make that a thing. It's not going to become a thing. Ronald Jones Jr. Like I really want him to be good, but I don't. I don't know if it's there.
I keep playing him and pushing it like it's like I know what I'm doing, and it's it's starting to hurt my feelings. So I'm just gonna pretend like he isn't there anymore.
Sounds great. Yep, I'm 100% with you there. Let's shift our focus. Let's talk those wide receivers. Obviously, like you mentioned, you're spending up at running back this week, so you're likely going to be down at wide receiver. And like I'm looking like Thielen, obviously a good matchup. A guy who keeps getting 100 yards, but he's almost 9,000. I don't know if I want to do that. Antonio Brown, tough matchup. Hopkins, tough matchup. And the addition of Demaryius Thomas. Like Mike Evans, I'm interested in, but it's still not a great matchup. Tyreek Hill's banged up. So, it's not really anything to be really excited about at the top. Touchdown regression is coming for Julio. I don't care what anybody says. So I don't hate him at 7,900. But I think let's start at like $7,000 and work our way down, because I think that's where the value is, and I think that's where we'll find names that we want to talk about. And I'm going to start with Robert Woods. I'm all in on Bobby Woods this week. We talked about Jared Goff. This is a guy who's getting volume. He's gotten 7 or more targets in 4 straight weeks. I think he has a monster game here, and is well worth his $7,000 price tag.
Yeah, look, I don't disagree. I mean, I think with the Rams receiving core, I think week to week, between Cooks, Woods, Kupp, you're kind of, if they're all healthy, obviously, you're kind of guessing as to who gets the touchdowns, right? I mean, because that's what you're doing. That they're in this high-powered offense, so I'm never gonna have a really big, strong opinion on oh, you shouldn't play Woods this week. I'm sure there's tons of metrics that will tell you, oh, this slot, it's better matchup for this defense for Kupp or Woods, whatever. I don't really buy into a lot of that stuff. Bottom line is, this is a high power offense. All these guys have tons of opportunity to score. So Yeah, I like Woods. I mean, for me personally, I think you're right about the upper echelon being like, do I need to get Thielen? No, but I think it's around 7,000, like you said, and I like Keenan Allen a lot this week at 73. I also like Michael Thomas. I think Michael Thomas at 76 is actually really like under.
Underprice.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think he's arguably, yeah, Thielen with the numbers. I think probably has the top fantasy player this season, maybe from the receiver position. But Thomas is a guy who every week has a threat, no matter what his matchup is, to be the top receiver on the board and has like a $9,000 value on DK to me every week. So I like Michael Thomas a lot. He was a little bit. He didn't have a big game last week, but they didn't need to have a big game.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to need him to have a big game. I love Michael Thomas at 7,600.
Yeah,
I love,
the targets are trending in the right direction, and this game has a chance to be, 48, 45,
yeah,
53, 49, something like that. So anytime you can get a piece in that offense, even if it's, a little over 7,000, I think he is worth it because I think I'm with you. He's closer to that 8,000, 8,500 than he is to the 7,000. So that could be a nice way to look. You want to go a little lower than that? And is there anybody kind of the one question I wanted to ask you, and we can go work our way back up towards 7,000 from here is if
sure.
you're spending 5,500 or 50, I guess if you have 5,500 left, are you spending it on Kenny Galladay or are you spending it on Marvin Jones?
Galladay.
Galladay.
Galladay for sure. I think he's I think he's really good. I think he's really talented. I think he does it all. I think he's a downfield threat. I think he's a red zone threat, and I think he's even like even can be an intermediate level threat where he's going to be a guy that is going to emerge really quickly. So I'm on Galladay for sure. And another thing we didn't talk about running backs, if he plays and if he's active, I think a sneaky dart throw with Golden Tate being gone is Theo Riddick. Um,
Yeah.
I think you could see him get a little bit more involved, and he's been a guy that Stafford just on third downs and even in the red zone, they split him out a lot. He's has a he's had a knack for going his way, so um, just keep an eye on that if he's active. So yeah, Kenny Galladay for me. How about you?
The one sweet. Yeah, I think I lean Galladay. Marvin, I don't know. They're both very interesting. I think I might do a couple lineups with both of them yeah, I trust and with the Tate trade, I think both these guys get more reliable targets on a week to week basis, which is really nice.
Yeah,
Um, if you want to get a little cute in GPPs, I don't hate Kiki QT at 5,300. I think a lot of people will write him off, assuming, oh, Demarius is there, those targets are gone, he's useless. If he was a little banged up, didn't play last week, so you have to kind of monitor if he's actually going to play. But if he does, I think he could have a better game than people think, and kind of the middle of the field and is really kind of where you can attack the Denver defense. So I could see him having a 6 or 7 catch kind of 50 yards, maybe a touchdown kind of game here, and I don't hate him at his price. Is there anybody else in that $5,000 to maybe $6,000 price range that you're really excited about this week?
no, nothing that jumps out too much that would be out of the regular guys. But I did want to just mention, you talked about Thielen going up against the Lions being so much, and I think that's a favorable matchup. But I think that Stephon Diggs
Yeah.
is maybe the better play this week. And the reason I say that is the Lions have Tease Tabor, who you may or may not be familiar with. He was their second round pick last year, and they're trying him out there now because Jamal Agnew has been out for season, and Tease Tabor, I might beat him in a 40-yard dash. I'm not sure. And it's literally, if you watch that Seattle game last week, they were exclusively picking on Tease Tabor
Yeah.
left and right. And this has been a trend for the last couple of weeks, and it's not going to stop. And so if you're looking at second receivers, I think Diggs has a spot to have a monster game this week. In the
Yeah.
guy who already has monster games in tougher matchups. So I think Diggs is a guy where if you're thinking about Minnesota passing game, you don't want to pay up for Thielen. I think Diggs has a shot to even outscore Thielen this week.
Yeah.
Uh,
This is a
being the
guy
second.
who's seen double-digit targets in every single game except for one, which is Arizona, where they were up by a lot. Or I guess they only won by 10. But yeah, he's had double-digit targets. He's the guy that I like as well. Obviously, he was held out of practice on Thursday. All the quotes coming out, there's no reason to expect him not to play. But you keep an eye on that definitely. But yeah, if I'm starting a Vikings receiver, I'm definitely Diggs over Thielen this week. If you're looking sub 5,000, there's two names that jump out to me. Devontae Parker at 4,600. Obviously, on Thursday night, had a really nice game. Still rolling with the rocket ship. Still, the Jets defense is very, very questionable. I think sub 5,000 is a great way to look. I also like DJ Moore at 4,300. This is a guy trending in the right direction. Obviously, a phenomenal matchup. He's basically seen 20 targets over the past 4 weeks. So 5 targets a game about on average. I could see him having maybe 7 or 8 this game, doing some big work. And at 4,300, I think it's a reasonable price tag to kind of jump on him at.
Yeah, I love gadget players, and that's what Moore is. That you saw a couple plays last week where they kind of did like a toss sweep to him.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of like trying to they know he's talented. They like what he does for them, and they're going to try to get him involved, not just in their regular passing offense. They're going to try to get him in reverses, get him in screenplays. They're going to try to just get him touches. So I always love having a guy like that because they're trying to get him in the position to make big plays. So
Yep.
I like the Moore pick as well. If I want to go a little bit deeper with dart throws, Kyle, I will say with the Lions, because of that Tate trade, Brandon Powell.
Ooh, you're not TJ Jones?
No, and or T.J. Jones, both.
Okay.
Both. But one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Powell's the guy who they activated last week. He's their rookie out of Florida. He had a nice preseason. When they played him, he showed just he had the ability to play. I think he's going to be on the field enough, and he has a good enough floor. I mean, if you're playing guys at that range,
Yeah.
you just want a guy that he's not going to get you zero. And he's going to come away with something and have even like some sort of just a reasonable upside to get you, a big play here or there. So I think Brandon Powell and T.J. Jones as well, like you said. I think those are nice dart throws this week for the Lions.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. In a game where they're probably going to have to throw to keep pace, so I think that makes a ton of sense. Let's talk tight ends. Are you paying up for Kelsey this week?
No, no, I'm not. It's mostly because of my ridiculous construction of my lineup. But I mean, look, yes, I think Kelsey's great this week, but I don't feel good about the other positions, so I don't want to pay up for Kelsey. I'd rather pay for a guy like OJ Howard at at I think is he at 39,000?
4,300.
Okay, 40. So I'd rather pay for that than Kelsey.
Yep.
What are you looking at with tight end?
So OJ Howard is like my number one option right now. I love him. I love him with some Fitzmagic. I also like Greg Olsen a lot. 4,700, a really good matchup. I expect Cam to have a really nice game. So a lot of Cam, Greg Olsen lineups are going to be coming from me as well. So yeah, I think if I'm looking at tight end, I think those are the two guys, and I'm kind of just ignoring everyone else.
And what about like a guy like just obviously everyone, this is a huge pickup and blah blah blah. Jordan Thomas. What about?
Like I said, the Broncos, if you beat them, it's via the middle of the field. They're prone to getting torched by tight ends. If you want to spend down and not do a whole heck of a lot, 2,900 I think makes a ton of sense. And to be honest, I don't hate Chris Herndon at $3,000.
Yeah.
Miami you can throw on. I think, the Jets are going to need to throw the ball, and he hasn't
Score a
gotten.
touchdown.
Yeah, he can score 3 touchdowns in 3 weeks. Doesn't get a ton of targets, but if he catches that touchdown at sub 3,000 or 3,000, I think I
He gets
think
the
he.
job done.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, I think he makes a ton of sense as well. Is there anyone else you're looking at in terms of tight ends?
Well, I'll let you know when we reveal our lineups. But
Oh, okay.
yes.
There's one little name. So stick around. Bobby and I will give you a lineup at the end of this magical show. So Bobby, if we're playing defenses, for me it's the Bears or bust. If you're not playing the Bears, who are you playing?
Uh, I agree. I agree. Yeah, it's kind of a Bears or bust week. I'm gonna kind of go with this ugly game. That probably usually typically is an ugly game, and I'll say, why not throw the Steelers out there at 2,300? You know,
Yeah, or
I think
even
that
even Baltimore at home. Like I know it's scary getting in front of the Big Ben and company, but at 2,500, a game where they're going to be low scoring, I don't hate that call either.
yeah. So if I'm going on the cheap, I don't mind either of defenses in those plays. Um, and I don't mind even what is the price? Let me just I'm checking right now, but I want to even mind Denver. They're in that price range
Mm,
too.
yeah, I told you I like them. I think Deshaun Watson could have a few turnovers. Um, I think that's another interesting call.
The Texans' worst unit is their offensive line, and so I think that just is, um, I think that invites potentially a big defensive play from the Broncos. So yeah, Broncos would be another play if I'm paying down. Yeah.
No, I think that's a great call. Okay. Any stacks? Anything else you're like really excited to deploy this week?
Um, Gosh, no stacks. Well, I will, just to, while we're here, just to plug it. If you're playing college DFS, sneaky stack North Carolina, but NFL stack, I don't have like a. I would say Tampa might be a sneaky, inexpensive stack.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot you can do with Tampa. So you want to hit me with your lineup of all lineups, and I can be impressed and amazed.
Yeah, impressed and disgusted, but here we go. All right, let's just go running backs. Running backs: Kareem Hunt,
Okay.
Alvin Kamara. Wide receivers: Keenan Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Michael Thomas. Tight end: the guy I talked about last week, who is the bottom barrel price, Michael Roberts with the
Mm-hmm.
Detroit Lions. The disappearance of Golden Tate, I think, opens it up for everyone. I think he has a good chance to just return something to you this week at 2,500. So a punt and play him at their tight end. Um, the flex spot Nick Chubb
Okay.
at 4,500, and the defense is the Steelers, and I rounded out with Mr. Nathan Peterman at quarterback, and I have no money left, so that is it. What is your lineup?
That is, I gotta take a second because that is a lineup, my friend. That is very much
You love it.
wow. I love it. Yeah, no, it's if you want to talk about impressive, I think that's it. I think we found it.
I feel
Uh,
I feel I feel like I feel like an artist right now. I
yeah,
feel like
no,
I
you
painted my Mona Lisa. Yeah.
yeah, no, you paint it. That is quite the show you put on there.
Thank
All right, so this week for my lineup, I have Cam Newton as my quarterback. I am going Adrian Peterson and Nick Chubb as my running backs.
you. Wow.
I'm going DJ Moore, so I got that Cam DJ Moore stack. I got my boy Bobby Woods. I got my boy Devontae Parker. So little risk going back to the well with him, but I think it'll be worth it. My tight end, I'm going Greg Olson. So I have a little Carolina influence. Got Cam, I got DJ, I got Greg Olson. My flex, I bounce back and forth, and I want to get your thoughts on this. So I have 8,200 to spend.
Yeah.
Would you go Melvin Gordon? Would you go Kareem Hunt, or would you go Michael Thomas?
Thomas. Thomas.
Thomas. Okay. So I had Kareem Hunt in there. Maybe I will go Thomas because I like rooting for my boy Michael Thomas. I expect a big game out of him.
Thomas is uncoverable,
Mm,
and it's Thomas. It's
yeah.
Thomas.
So
I'm not going to give any more commentary. It's Thomas.
and then yeah, and then even I can go a little wiggle room with and maybe I'll look at like maybe Tyler Lockett or Sammy Watkins or even Michael Crabtree instead of Devontae Parker. So that's another way you can look. But yeah, no, I feel pretty good about my team. I don't typically spend this much at quarterback and tight end, but here we are, and I'm still able to get some studs in there, and feel good about the direction my team is headed.
How are you going to feel when Nathan Peterman outscores Cam Newton?
I'm gonna feel real bad if that happens. If Cam Newton has that big of a down game, and I guess it would be like what a 4 or 5 interception game for Cam, and Nathan Peterman has like 7 points.
Yeah, no, Peterman's going to have. I think he's gonna have a Brett Favre game. He's gonna have like this. He's gonna have that Brock Osweiler game at
Hmm.
some point, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there when it happens. No, honestly, I think setting some of those lineups is I'm gonna have that out there just to see what happens. But yeah, we'll see. I like what you did too, and hey, we'll see what happens. It's gonna be exciting week 10.
Yeah,
Or sorry,
absolutely.
week
Week
9.
9. Yeah, week 10 in college, week 9 in NFL. Make sure you are keeping an eye on those practice reports, on those injury things, because there is opportunities to jump on some interesting names. Obviously, Bobby and I will tweet out some stuff. Throughout the rest of the weekend and help get you set for Sunday. If you are interested in gambling or sports picks, do an NFL Pick'em League or whatever, head over and check out that podcast. We break down our favorite games of the week, as well as Bobby's college football DFS. I have tons of content up on Fake Pigskin, as well as rankings and everything else you could ever need. So make sure you're following Bobby at Real Bobby Adcock. Follow me at Notorious KRO. Good luck in DK. Good luck with your gambling picks. Good luck with your season long leagues. And we'll talk to you guys next week.
Good luck, guys.